The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with light, laughter, and arrogance. Representatives from over 1,200 species sat in shining seats, high above the chamber floor. Their eyes glowed, their voices echoed. A massive screen floated in the air above them. On that screen was a human face, calm, serious, and silent, for 32 minutes. The humans had said nothing. The envoy ship from Earth hovered outside the council station, unarmed and peaceful. It had sent one simple message. We come in peace. We request dialogue. We offer friendship. That was all. No demands, no threats, just a peaceful greeting. But the silence that followed had become unbearable for the council, and they were not patient beings. High Chancellor Relvac of the Utari banged his clawed hand on the golden table and snarled. Still no response. Do these primitives think they can ignore us? The others laughed. Some sipped glowing drinks. Others made bets on how soon Earth would kneel. They must be scared, said a tall insectoid general. They know they're weak. They think peace will save them, sneered a lizard-like diplomat. It won't. A wide shot of Earth's envoy ship remained on the screen. Its surface was sleek, silver, and calm. No weapons, no shields, just silence. But far away, in the dark edges of the galaxy, something else had begun to move. The silence was not fear back on Earth. The United Terran Command sat in a cold room deep beneath the planet's surface. No windows, no lights except the glowing screens. The generals were quiet. No one smiled. The peace message had been sent days ago. It had reached the council. Earth had watched and waited. The humans had heard the laughter, the mocking, the insults. They saw the council representatives point at the human image and laugh like children. They heard them call Earth a joke. They heard the threats, the open warnings. Join us, or be erased. The humans said nothing. They did not reply. They simply cut the transmission. And that was when the operation began. Old warnings. Forgotten centuries ago, Earth had changed. Wars on their home planet had made humans hard, fast, and clever. Earth was a death world, a place where nature itself tried to kill you every day. Poisonous plants, giant predators, natural disasters, extreme climates, and worst of all, humans themselves. Over time, they became something different, something dangerous. They learned to survive in any condition. They built machines to cross stars. They trained soldiers to fight in silence. But when they entered the galactic stage, they did not show this power. They came with open hands, not closed fists. They offered peace. They offered friendship. And now, the galaxy thought them weak. Behind the curtain cut the feed, General Mera said quietly. The technicians nodded. All screens showing the Galactic Council shut down. From this moment forward, Earth would say nothing. They would answer no questions, no interviews, no broadcasts. They had tried peace. Now, they would prepare for what might come next. Activate Operation Ghost. The general ordered. A technician's fingers danced across the keyboard. Far across the stars, hidden Terran fleets woke from sleep. Ships that no one in the galaxy had ever seen, black, angular, and silent, began to move. Deep space communication stations turned off their transmitters. Civilian ships were recalled from foreign systems. Earth closed its doors and waited. The council didn't understand. Back in the council, the mood had changed slightly. The humans cut off all transmissions, said one of the analysts. Chancellor Relvac snorted. Typical fear response. They probably regret sending their little message. Or maybe they're planning something, whispered a quiet voice from the edge of the room. It was Ambassador Kelvin, an old scholar from the Erixi species. He had studied Terran history. He knew more about humans than most. They never threaten, Kelvin said. Not first. The others laughed again. Then they'll die first, said the insectoid general. We'll erase their world in a day. Perhaps, Kelvin replied softly. Or perhaps they're not as weak as you think. No one listened. The stars began to shift in deep space. Something moved. It wasn't loud, it wasn't visible on most scanners, but slowly, piece by piece, the stars began to vanish. Outposts near Terran space stopped sending reports. Cargo ships disappeared without distress calls. Minor races that had traded with Earth began to receive strange warnings. Leave Terran space. Immediately, some did. DID and single quotes. The ones who stayed were never heard from again. False confidence. The Galactic Council decided to send another message. This one was different. It was not peaceful. Earth, you will answer our demands within 5 cycles. Join the Council. Submit your technology. Pay tribute, or we will send a fleet. There was no answer. The message was repeated. Still no answer. Finally, the Council scheduled a public declaration. Earth would be punished for its disobedience. Hundreds of media channels tuned in. Billions of beings watched. Chancellor Relv stood before the galaxy and said proudly, "Humanity has made a mistake. We offered them a place among us. They chose silence. They will now learn who holds power in this galaxy." Thunderous applause followed. But deep in space, something was coming. The Deathworlders had waited long enough on a distant moon orbiting the gas giant Geratune. A lone observatory picked up strange readings. Dozens of small red dots appeared on their scanner, moving fast. No ID. No signal. No origin. Just cold, calculated motion. Before the scientist could call for help, the screen went black. All systems died. Then the entire moon disappeared, not exploded, not burned, gone, turned into dust and plasma in less than 10 seconds. The council received the report an hour later. They dismissed it. A mining accident. Old reactor tech. Nothing serious. But the stars kept vanishing. The humans weren't coming to talk anymore inside the Terran supercarrier Oblivion Spear. Commander Alaric gave his final orders. "Do not fire unless engaged first," he said. "But if they do, finish it fast." His crew nodded. No shouting, no war drums, just purpose. The ship's AI had mapped every known weakness in Council defense. The fleet was already in position. Earth had prepared for this moment. Long ago they had hoped it would never come, but now, they would not run, they would not beg, they would not warn again. Final silence back in the Council. A technician stood up, pale. "Councilors, another outpost has gone dark. That makes 12 this week," someone whispered. "No messages, none. Any trace of attackers, no wreckage, no trails, no signs, just nothing." A chill passed through the chamber. And for the first time, the laughter stopped. Someone finally asked, "What if we were wrong about Earth?" The screen above the council flickered. The human envoy's face appeared one last time. He said, just 3 words. Cold. Final. Peace was offered. Then the screen went black. The council hall was louder than ever. Laughter echoed through the golden walls. Cameras floated, broadcasting every moment to the galaxy. Councilors smiled, joked, and passed drinks between each other. At the center, High Chancellor Rep stood tall with pride, raising a glass of green liquid. "To Earth," he said loudly, "to their silence, to their stupidity." The crowd roared with laughter. They sent a message of peace. Someone shouted, "They sent nothing but weakness. Are they still watching us?" A young diplomat asked. Relvac nodded, smirking. "Let them see. Let them hear. Let them understand this galaxy is ruled by strength." No one saw the red warning light while the celebration echoed. One small console in the far left corner of the chamber flashed red. No one noticed. The technician assigned to that console had gone to join the party. The red light meant something simple. Deep space disturbance detected. But no one saw it. And so, no one responded. The first disappearance 2 hours later. Council Command received a message from Outpost Theta-9. It was short, one word. "Run." Then the signal vanished. Not jammed, not blocked, just gone. The entire outpost along with 4,000 staff, 11 ships, and 3 satellites disappeared from all records. Even its gravitational signature was gone. Council scientists blamed a black hole. Others said it was a sensor error. But some, especially the quiet ones, began to worry. Still, no one said the word human. Not yet. Still laughing. "We will teach them to obey," Relvac said confidently in his next public speech. "Earth must either join or be broken." Behind him, giant screens showed a still image of the human envoy. Cold eyes, neutral face, silent. Relvac turned to the crowd. "They hide now, thinking we'll forget them." He raised his clawed hand and slammed the table. "But we do not forget. We will show them no one ignores the council." The crowd cheered again, but the ambassador from the Erixi, Kelvin, didn't clap. He stared at the human's eyes on the screen and whispered to himself, "They're not hiding. They're hunting." Whispers in the shadows of the council city. Whispers began to spread. Military patrols were being pulled back. Some warships went silent. 2 civilian colonies, Jonak and Pelia, had not checked in for over 24 hours. Officials dismissed it all. No proof, no connection to Earth, no reason to panic. But on the dark edge of the Andorian cluster, a smuggler named Vea sent a final message. Black ships, moving without engines, red lights in the fog. That message was never finished. Kelvin's warning. Ambassador Kelvin stood before a private council. His voice was calm, but his eyes held fear. "You do not understand humans," he said. "You never studied their wars like I did. They are Deathworlders, yes, a general replied. Strong but disorganized. They're nothing against our fleets. Kelvin shook his head. You are wrong. They don't attack with strength. They wait. They watch. Then, when the time is perfect, they remove you like a shadow removing light. The room was silent. Kelvin took out a small, old device, an ancient human file from their EarthNet archives. He pressed play. We do not start fights. We do not seek war, but we do not kneel and we do not forget. The room stayed silent until another report arrived. A moon had vanished. The moon that vanished Council Moon Base Delta 3 was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Sensors picked up a strange energy pulse 2 minutes before it vanished. Then, nothing. All 12,000 personnel. All structures, all ships, no wreckage, no fire. Just dust. And silence. That was when Relvac's voice began to change. Who did this? He shouted. His advisors looked at each other, but deep down, everyone was thinking the same thing. Earth. Operation Skyfire begins inside the Terran supercarrier Oblivion Spear. Commander Alaric gave new orders. Targets confirmed. He said. No. One cheered. No celebration. Just quiet professionals working in the dark. Skyfire teams ready. All units in position. Proceed across space. Black ships uncloaked, quiet, cold, and massive. Weapons turned on. Targets locked. The warning too late. The Council finally decided to send a warning fleet. 15 warships. All elite. All powerful. They arrived at the edge of Terran space. The commanding officer broadcasted, "This is a show of strength. Earth, you have 10 cycles to respond, or we come in force." No reply. Then, the stars behind the fleet began to go dark. One by one, like candles being blown out. A ripple passed through Spascold, unnatural. Then a black shape moved from the dark, massive, silent. Unscannabl. At the human supercarrier, the Deathworlders respond. The human ship did not answer the broadcast. It did not fire immediately. Instead, it sent one small signal, only one sentence. We offered peace. Then it opened fire. Not with lasers. Not with missiles. With weapons. The Council had never seen gravity, weapons, energy slicing tools, planet cracking cores. In 3 minutes, all 15 Council ships were gone. One survivor's escape pod drifted. For hours before being recovered. The message he kept repeating. No sound. No warning. Just red light and death. The Council begins to break. Panic gripped the inner chambers. Relvac screamed, "This is war." But they didn't declare it. Someone said, "They don't need to." Another replied, "They already won the first battles." Kelvin stood in the back. He didn't smile, he didn't move. He simply said, "They asked for peace. You gave them mockery, now they give you silence." And with that, another screen lit up. Another colony. Gone. The last signal from Cavilis IV was short. Static. Screaming. Then one word. Run. The emergency beacon activated automatically after that. But by the time the nearest listening station received it, Cavilis IV was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. No heat signature, no light. Just silence. A once busy mining world, now erased from the star map. And no one knew how. The Council sends a scout team 3 hours after the signal ended. The Galactic Council dispatched a recon ship to investigate. It was fast, small, elite. 4 veteran pilots. Their mission: land, scan, report. They arrived at the coordinates where Cavilis 4 should have been. There was no planet, only a floating cloud of glowing dust, drifting like smoke. The pilot's hands shook. "There's no gravity signature," he whispered. The co-pilot's face was pale. "There's no crust, no core. It's like the planet was peeled layer by layer." The commander called the Council. "Cavilis 4 has been vaporized. There's nothing left. No wreckage, no survivors. We are leaving." But the signal never reached the Council, because something was already there, watching them. The black shape in the dust. One of the pilots saw it first, just a shadow. Not on radar, not on thermal scans. But it was there, barely visible through the red dust. Long, silent to still. Then it moved. No engines. No lights. Just movement, like a ghost slipping through space. "We need to leave now," the commander yelled, but it was too late. All 4 ships vanished. No fire, no explosion. Just silence and dust. The Council denies everything. When Cavilis 4 failed to check in, and the scout team didn't report back, panic hit the Council. But instead of warning the public, they silenced the information. A Council broadcast said Cavilis IV suffered a system error. A solar flare destroyed communication. Ambassadors from nearby systems weren't convinced. They had trade with Cavilis. They knew something was wrong, so They sent their own private teams to investigate. None returned. The miners' final message 2 days later. A small mining drone from Corvallis IV was found drifting far from the blast zone. It held a message log. The drone had recorded visual footage from orbit before being pushed away by the explosion. The footage was shaky, fuzzy, but the sound was clear. The miners were screaming, saying strange words. They're walking through fire. Black armor, no ID. They're not council, they're not anyone. Why won't they die? It's the human sits, the Deathworlders. Then static, dot, and silence. The council locked the footage, declared it fake, but word leaked, and the name Death began spreading. Kelvin Estruth in a quiet corner of the council chambers. Ambassador Kelvin played the footage again. He watched the shadows move through fire. He paused the screen when one of the soldiers turned toward the camera. Black armor, red markings, no face, no sound. I told them, Kelvin whispered. I warned them, but they laughed. Now the galaxy would bleed. A secret meeting far from the council's grand halls. A small group of leaders met in secret. Not all species trusted the council anymore. Some wanted peace, some wanted answers, and all of them feared Earth. What does humanity want? Asked a frail diplomat. An exiled general replied. They sent a peace offer. You mocked it. Can we talk now? No one knows how to reach them. They're silent. Then how do we stop them? The general's eyes were cold. Meanwhile, on Earth inside, Terran Command, General Mera reviewed the Corvallis footage. Operation Dust complete, said the AI calmly. Mera nodded next. The AI displayed a new list. Critical council stations, fuel depots, relay hubs, silent. Targets. Mera didn't blink. We do not destroy civilians, she said. Understood. The AI replied. Next phase will target only council strongholds. The humans were not seeking conquest. They were sending a message, and every move was planned. A galaxy starts to fracture in outer colonies. Civilians began leaving council-controlled zones. Abandoned trade routes, mercenaries resigned their contracts. Fear grew. In the dark parts of the galaxy. Old stories about Deathworlders came back, stories about human soldiers surviving impossible battles. Humans who could walk through fire and kill without noise. Humans who did not bluff. Now, those stories didn't feel like legends anymore. They felt like warnings. One last transmission from a drifting station near Corvallis space. A trader sent one final audio log. The voice was broken. Scared, we thought. Earth was a small world, quiet, soft. We thought their peace offer was a joke. We thought they were alone, but the sky is full of their ships now, and none of them speak. If anyone hears this, leave. Just leave. He stood alone in the Hall of Memory. Rows of glowing records surrounded him, wars, treaties, and ancient histories from thousands of species. But Kelvin wasn't looking for alien stories. He was looking for one thing: human war logs. The kind the council had locked away, the kind no one was allowed to study anymore. But Kelvin had seen them long ago. During his studies on Earth, he remembered reading about a war called the Third World War, about something humans called total destruction, about weapons that could erase cities in seconds. And now, they were back, and the council still wasn't listening. A lone voice in a room full of power. Kelvin stood before the Galactic Council once again. He was tired, pale, and for the first time in decades, afraid. I beg you, he said softly, do not ignore the signs. The chamber was half empty. Some councillors had already gone to safe worlds. Others simply didn't believe the danger was real. We have faced threats before, said a councillor. This is no different. Kelvin shook his head. You do not understand humans. You never did. He activated the hologram in front of them. It showed a timeline. Earth's wars, from ancient spears to nuclear fire, from machines to artificial armies. Every time they were pushed, Kelvin said, they adapted, they learned, they fought back harder, and now they are silent. The last human quote. He played one final clip from Earth's old archives. A general speaking into a broken radio, surrounded by fire. We didn't start this, but we'll end it. Then static. And death. Kelvin turned off the projection. They offered peace, he said quietly. You laughed because it was weak. Relvac shouted from across the chamber. No, Kelvin replied, because it was their last offer. Some still laughed. Relvac stood, slamming the floor with his clawed foot. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled for 10,000 cycles. Then why, Kelvin asked, have 3 moons disappeared? The room went quiet. Even Relvac didn't answer. They are not invading, Kelvin said. They are removing threats quietly, efficiently. One councillor whispered, they haven't even spoken. Kelvin nodded, because they already did. The Deathworlders philosophize back on Earth, inside Terran Command. The words of a past leader hung on the wall: never strike first, but never leave your enemy standing. The humans believed in survival, but they also believed in finality. No long wars, no drawn-out battles, just one response, one lesson, and silence. After the Lister AI in Terran Command displayed the current progress report: Council Recon Fleet, eliminated Cavallis system, cleared interference, satellites, destroyed public transmissions, monitored civilian traffic, unharmed. General Mera studied it carefully. Send a final warning to the Erixi system, she said. They have historians, they may understand. And if they don't, the AI asked. She didn't answer. Kelvin's final attempt. Colvin contacted his homeworld, Erixia. He told them what he had seen, what he knew. The leaders listened, silently. Then they asked one question: do you think Earth will attack us? Kelvin replied, no, not if you don't give them a reason. Erixia pulled its ships back, shut down its council ties, and quietly closed its borders. The others did not listen, but other worlds like Varnik, Heth, and Kryn kept sending probes toward Earth. One probe flew too close to a Terran stealth station that it vanished. No beam, no fire, just disappeared. When Kryn demanded an explanation, Earth sent nothing, not even a word. The silence spreads across the galaxy. More and more stars began going dark, trading routes were abandoned, warships disappeared without battle, and all evidence pointed in one direction. Earth. But still, the Council did not believe. Maybe it's sabotage, said one report. Maybe it's internal rebellion. But Kelvin knew, and so did the few who had studied the humans. One small research team on a remote station sent a message before they too vanished. The humans were quiet because they hoped. They are quiet now because they've decided. Message: to the stars on Earth. A single broadcast was sent out. Encrypted. Short. Only the species who had once studied human languages could even understand it. Kelvin was one of them. He played it on a private channel. The voice was calm, cold, measured. We will not send diplomats again. We will not explain ourselves again. We ask for peace. He chose mockery. Let this be the last time such a mistake is made in this galaxy. Then silence, and Kelvin's hands trembled, because he knew they weren't warning anymore. They were just letting the stars prepare. One more moon. The Council outpost on Moon was a major communications hub. Thousands of Council soldiers, scientists, and strategists worked there. One night their entire sky turned red, then black. Then gone. The central command station melted inward, folded like paper, and vanished. The last thing recorded by the cameras: a single figure in black armor standing silently on the landing pad, looking straight into the lens. No words. No movement. Just presence. Then static. The final Plekelvon sent his final message to the Council. They are not destroying us for power, they are removing us for balance. Step back. End this now, or there will be no one left to step back. The Council never responded, because by the time they received it, another 3 systems were already gone. The stars behind them started disappearing. One by one. At first, it looked like a sensor error. The commander of the 15-ship Council fleet adjusted his screen. Still blank. Sir, the tactical officer whispered, we're losing stars. The commander squinted. No, something is blocking them. They all turned to the windows and saw it. A giant shape moving in the dark. No lights, no engines, no sound, just a shadow swallowing space. And then all communication systems shut down. Council's first strike 3 days earlier. The Council had finally made a decision. Earth had ignored every demand. Council colonies were vanishing. The galaxy was afraid, and fear makes leaders dangerous. Relvac stood in front of the military board and slammed his clawed hand down. Enough. They've humiliated us long enough. We strike. An elite fleet of 15 advanced warships was sent toward Terran space. It was the largest military action the Council had taken in 300 years. The goal was clear: intimidate Earth, force surrender. They expected resistance. They expected fear. They never expected silence. Approaching Terran Space Commander Threx of the Warfleet sent the standard broadcast: Earth, this is the United Council. You will respond now. This is your final warning. Nothing. He sent it again. Still silence. They pushed forward closer to what humans called the neutral boundary. Still nothing. The crew grew nervous. Some of them had read the reports. Some had heard the whispers. Why haven't they responded? One officer asked. Maybe their systems are down. Another guessed. No. Threx replied. They're watching the arrival at the edge of Terran space. The stars became strange. The gravity felt wrong. Scanners stopped working. Then, a soundless ripple passed through the fleet, like pressure. From nowhere, then a shape appeared. At first it looked like a shadow, then a hole, then an entire Terran, SUPARCARRIER. It was black, unlabeled, larger than any ship the Council had ever seen. And it wasn't alone. One by one, dozens of death vessels, uncloaked, all silent, all pointed forward. No one fired, no one spoke, until the supercarrier sent one signal, only text. You were warned. 3 minutes of fire. The Council ships opened fire first. Lasers, missiles, ion cannons, but none of it mattered. The Deathworlder vessels didn't move. They absorbed the energy, redirected it, then they responded, and in 3 minutes, all 15 Council ships were gone. Not in burning pieces, not scattered. Debris. Gone. Erased. Folded, vanished into space, like paper into flame. Only one escape pod managed to eject. It was found drifting days later. Inside, the pilot was alive, but silent, his eyes wide, his hands shaking. All he whispered was, no sound, no escape, just red lights and cold eyes. Back on Earth inside Terran Command, General Mera watched the battle replay. She didn't smile, she didn't speak, she simply said, Stage 2 confirmed. Begin extraction of remaining trade allies. The rest will figure it out. The AI replied. What of the Council survivors? Mara's voice was cold. There won't be many. Council in chaos back at the Galactic Council headquarters. Alarms rang everywhere. Emergency meetings were called. Thousands of ambassadors shouted over one another. How could we lose 15 ships? Where are the black box recordings? There's no wreckage. What does that mean? Relvac looked pale for the first time in his life. He sat down, slowly, silently. Kelvin stood nearby. He didn't mock, he didn't smile, he simply said, they told you what would happen, and you laughed. The human strategists didn't conquer, they didn't rule. They erased threats, then disappeared again. No broadcasts, no claims, no flags. Just silence, and the chilling knowledge that they were still watching. Earth didn't need diplomacy anymore. They had already made their point. Whispers in the outer colonies. The Council's colonies began to panic. Some disconnected from Council networks. Others tried to reach out to Earth, but Earth said nothing. Those who begged for peace received silence. And then, for some, that silence became permanent. Their stars went dark. One survivor speaks. The pilot from the escape pod was finally cleared to speak in front of Council leaders. He gave only one sentence. We fired everything, and it felt like we were swatting a mountain. Did they talk to you? Someone asked. He shook his head. No, but one of them looked at me, through the ship, through space, and I knew what? That we never had a chance. Final words from Earth before the Council could plan another strike. A single signal appeared across all major networks, from Earth.short.com.cold. We are not angry, we are not vengeful, but we are done waiting. Do not come closer, or nothing will remain. In a dusty bar on the edge of the galaxy, 5 alien smugglers sat in silence. No one laughed, no one drank. Everyone stared at the broken screen. Above the bar, it played footage from a passing trader's black box, a blurry recording taken just before a colony vanished at the edge of the screen. A shape appeared, a human, but not like in the stories. This one wore black armor. Its eyes glowed red. Its movements were slow, careful, and terrifyingly calm. Then the screen went black, and the smuggler with the scar across his face whispered, They really are Deathworlders. No one disagreed, not anymore. The word was once a joke. Long ago, when humans first entered the galaxy, the word Deathworlder was a nickname. It meant they came from a dangerous planet. Yes, Earth had predators. Yes, it had disasters. Yes, humans were tough. But the Council laughed. They thought the title was funny. They thought humans would break icily under pressure. They never imagined the word would become a warning. What the word really meant: a Deathworlder doesn't run from danger. They survive it. Adapt to it. Then become the danger. Where other species break, humans evolve. Where others surrender, humans plan. Where others fear death, humans face it. They are not cruel. They are not conquerors. But once pushed, they do not stop. And now, the galaxy was learning this too late. Life in the shadows on Trade Station Horus 5. Shopkeepers closed early. Lights were dimmed. Even pirates stayed quiet. A small child asked her father, Why are we hiding? The father looked up at the sky and whispered, Because they're watching. Who? He didn't answer, but the child had heard the word. Already. From strangers. From teachers. Even from guards. Deathworlders. A story spreads in underground networks. Stories began to spread like fire. A man who survived exposure to space for 30 seconds. He was human. A woman who lifted a 400 kg door to save a dying alien. She was human. A squad who walked through fire to rescue non-humans from a council prison. Humans again. Old files were reopened. Ancient human wars were studied. And slowly, the galaxy began to understand. Earth was not weak. Earth had simply hoped. Inside Terran, Command General Mara watched satellite footage. She saw aliens running not from weapons, but from fear. And she sighed. "We didn't want this," she said softly. "No," replied Commander Alaric. "But they made the choice for us." The A spoke next. "Council systems are collapsing, panic growing. No direct retaliation attempts since fleet wipeout." Mara nodded. "We continue, silent, controlled, no civilians." "Understood. Some want peace again." The outer worlds, those not directly part of the council, began sending messages to Earth. Some offered tribute, some offered apologies, some offered silence. None received replies. Human ships passed through their systems quietly, no attacks, no broadcasts, just shadows moving in space. And everyone held their breath until the humans left. A message from a historian in a quiet corner of a broken world. An old alien professor recorded a message. "The council taught us that humans were soft. They mocked their patience. They laughed at their kindness. But kindness is not weakness. Humans held back their darkness until you forced it open. And now that it's awake, I fear no star will ever feel warm again." The children of fire. Inside the wreckage of a council fortress, strange symbols were found carved into the metal walls. They were written in Earth's old language that no one could read them, except Kelvin. When shown the images, he translated quietly. "We walked through your fire, not to conquer, but to remind you who lit it first." Kelvin's last speech. Kelvin finally stood before the remaining council. He had nothing more to prove. They had seen it now. They had felt it. He looked around the half-empty chamber and said, "You called them Deathworlders as a joke. Now the joke is gone, and all that's left is truth." He turned and walked away. No one stopped him. No one argued. No one argued. No one even looked him in the eye. A cold sky in the far reaches of space. A mining crew discovered a massive crater where an illegal council lab once stood. They found no bodies. Just scorched walls, and one message burned into the floor. "We do not forget." The miners left the system the same day. None returned. Back on Earth, General Mara stood alone in a garden on Earth, looking at the stars. She whispered to herself, "We asked for peace. We waited. We were patient." Behind her, the AI's voice came through. "Council High Command is scattering. Some going into hiding." "Good," she replied. "Let them live. Let them remember." Then she walked back underground, where the next phase was already being prepared. Final note from a runaway council officer and ex-Molsel soldier sent one last audio file to his family before disappearing. "If you hear the word Deathworlder now, don't argue, don't test them, don't run, just stop, because they already decided, and they're not going to ask again. They expected war, they expected fire, they expected Earth to keep burning its enemies, one by one, until the galaxy bowed, but instead, Earth went silent again. No ships, no attacks, no signals, no threats, just nothing. And that's when the galaxy truly panicked, because they realized Earth wasn't stopping because it was tired. Earth was stopping because it had nothing left to prove. The final council, meeting the few council leaders who remained gathered in a dark, damaged chamber. No flags, no lights, just silence and fear. Ambassador Kell Von sat at the edge, watching, waiting. Then the message came. Earth had sent a signal. Not a warning, not a demand, not an ultimatum, just a single data file. Relva, still shaken, opened it. Inside were 3 lines of text. "You laughed. You struck. We finished." There was no reply button, no signature, no channel to answer. The humans had spoken their last words. Earth begins to withdraw. Human ships began disappearing from council space. Not running, not fleeing, just leaving. One system at a time, one border at a time. They left behind wreckage, scars, and silence. No occupation, no control, just absence. And that absence was louder than any battle. The power vacuum with Earth gone, the galaxy fell into confusion. Trade routes broke, alliances cracked. Fear turned into chaos. Who was in charge now? Who could enforce peace? No one stepped up, because everyone remembered what happened to the last ones who tried to control. Earth's final broadcast. And cycles later, Every major frequency lit up at once. Earth's voice returned. It was not the voice of a general, not of a diplomat, not even a warning, just a message, simple, clear. We are closing our borders. We will not return. We have seen what the galaxy is. We choose our own path now. Do not follow. Then silence. Forever. Reactions across the galaxy. Some wept, some cheered, some tried to open communication again. None succeeded. The stars around Earth slowly vanished from public maps. No one was allowed near Terran space again. If someone tried, they were never seen again. No wreckage. No wreckage. No trace. Just gone. The legend begins. Years passed, then decades, and the word Deathworlder changed again. It no longer meant monster. It no longer meant enemy. It became something else. A lesson, a warning, a myth, a school on a far planet. Young alien student raised his hand. Teacher, were humans real? The old instructor looked out the window at the cold stars. Yes, she said quietly. Very real. Why did they leave? Because we wouldn't listen. The child blinked. Will they ever come back? The teacher smiled sadly. Not unless we forget what they taught us. Back on Earth, peace in the green valleys of Earth. People lived quietly. Children played gardens. Grew. Skies were clear. There were no monuments for war, no museums for conquest, because humanity didn't celebrate what they had done. They just remembered. Stayed ready. Just in case. The real message, what Earth taught. The galaxy was not about power. It was not about weapons. It was not about fear. It was about a single truth. If you offer peace with an open hand, mean it, because if the hand is slapped away, you may never get a second chance. The final words of Kelvin old now, and retired. Kelvin wrote one final entry in his journal. We thought Earth was a small voice in a loud room, but they were the only ones worth listening to. We thought they were quiet because they were weak, but they were quiet because they were strong. And when they walked away, the galaxy followed. There was no one left to fear, no one left to fight. And yet, the galaxy had never been so quiet, or so afraid, because Earth wasn't coming back. They didn't rule, they didn't stay, they just left. But their absence was like a shadow that never faded. Everyone remembered the worlds that vanished, the ships that never returned, the message that said, do not follow. And even now, decades later, no one dared to try. The border of Terran space at the edge of the Terran exclusion zone. A line of buoys floated silently, no light. No sound, no movement. Just presence. Any ship that crossed them never returned. Some said Earth had built planet-sized stealth weapons. Some believed they had left the galaxy altogether. Others whispered they now lived inside black holes, watching. Truth. No one knew, and no one was willing to find out. A fragile new order with Earth gone. The council collapsed completely. Small coalitions rose in its place. Some sought peace, some returned to war, but none of them felt in control, because everyone ruled under the unspoken law now. What would Earth do? It became a phrase, a caution, a warning. The Book of Deathworld, a peaceful farming planet. A monk wrote a book. He called it The Deathworlders, Lessons from Silence. He never met a human. Never saw a Terran ship, but he studied what Earth did and, more importantly, what it didn't do. In his words, they could have ruled us, they could have burned us, but instead, they let us see who we really were. We feared them, but the truth is, we were only afraid of ourselves. A galaxy of echoes everywhere in the stars. Traces of Earth remained. Abandoned ships in low orbit untouched, unpowered, but never decayed. Wreckage from battles no one dared clean up. Colonies that had once traded with Earth's now ghost towns, and in every sector, the same feeling. We were warned. The Academy reforms galactic military academies, rewrote their doctrines. Human history became required study, not to learn tactics, but to learn restraint. One professor wrote, the greatest strength of Earth was not its firepower but its patience. We mistook that for weakness, and paid the price. The message that never changed, the last known transmission from Earth, still floated endlessly in deep space. On repeat, quiet, cold, final. We asked for peace. You chose mockery. We are finished speaking. Some believed it was a bluff. Others believed it was a lesson, but everyone agreed it was not a threat. It was a decision. The child who asked on a faraway moon. A child looked at the stars and asked, who lives there, past the red zone? The elder smiled sadly. No one we're allowed to speak to. Why? The elder pointed to a black line drawn across every star map. Because long ago we were foolish and they walked away. The child was quiet, then asked, will they ever forgive us? The elder shook their head. No, and maybe they shouldn't. The true victory in the end. Earth did not conquer. They didn't take revenge. They didn't demand submission, they simply left a message behind. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Don't mistake kindness for surrender. And don't repeat the same mistake again. Final scene back on Earth along Green Valley. Children running. No weapons in sight. Old warriors tending to flowers. Above them, a sky full of stars. Quiet, peaceful, but if one looked closely, very closely, they'd see them. Hidden. Watching. Waiting. Just in case, because Earth had not stopped, they had only chosen silence.